Number 8. Waxwings. Let's ease into this with something you've probably witnessed firsthand without even realizing it. You know those tiny birds that sit perfectly still on a branch and look like they have everything figured out? Yeah, they don't. Not even close. Waxwings have a bit of a drinking problem. These birds absolutely love berries, which is fine. The issue is that they also love fermented berries, which is a completely different situation. During certain times of the year, berries left on trees begin to ferment naturally, producing enough alcohol to get a small bird completely hammered. And waxwings, being the responsible creatures they are, will eat them until they physically cannot eat anymore. Why the result? Hundreds of drunk birds stumbling around Scandinavian cities, flying into windows, crashing into cars, and just generally being a menace to society. Swedish authorities have had to launch actual rescue operations to collect intoxicated waxwings off the streets. They sober them up and release them back into the wild, where they immediately find more fermented berries and start the whole process over again. At this point, it's not a wildlife problem. It's a lifestyle choice. Number 7. Reindeer. You know that little red mushroom from the Mario games? The one that makes you bigger and invincible? In real life, it's called Amanita muscaria. It does not make you invincible, and it will absolutely try to kill you. But the reindeer of Siberia genuinely do not care. These animals go out of their way to find and eat these mushrooms. And once the effects kick in, they start running in circles, making bizarre noises and staring at absolutely nothing for extended periods of time, which honestly sounds like every music festival ever. But here's where it gets truly unhinged. Humans watched the reindeer doing this and thought, and I want you to really sit with this. That looks fun. I want some of that. So they tried the mushrooms themselves. Some had incredible hallucinations. Others died. And instead of taking that as a sign to perhaps leave the glowing red mushrooms alone, some absolute genius came up with the idea of drinking the reindeer's urine instead, believing it would filter out the toxins but keep the good stuff. And he was right. So for a period of human history, people and reindeer were getting high together on reindeer urine in the Siberian wilderness. Some historians believe this is actually the origin of the Santa Claus story. Flying reindeer, a man in a red suit, gifts appearing from nowhere. It all makes a lot more sense now, doesn't it? Number 6. Dolphins. Everybody loves telling this one at parties, so let's just get it out of the way. Yes, it's true. Dolphins, the animals that everyone insists are gentle and intelligent and basically people, are actually the biggest lowlifes in the entire ocean. Here's what they do. A group of dolphins will locate a pufferfish, surround it, and start passing it around while gently biting it. They will nudge it, toss it in the air, play catch with it, and basically make sure that pufferfish has a genuinely terrible day. This causes the pufferfish to panic and release tetrodotoxin, one of the most lethal poisons on the planet. One pufferfish carries enough toxin to kill 30 adult humans, or, as researchers have noted, about 15 average-sized Americans. Dolphins, being the sophisticated little criminals they are, have figured out exactly how much of this poison they can absorb without dying. They've been filmed passing the same pufferfish around for 20 to 30 minutes before letting it go. After which, they float near the surface in a complete stupor, staring at their own reflection like they just discovered the meaning of life. The pufferfish, for its part, presumably needs years of therapy. Number 5. Elephants. You'd think that being the largest land animal on Earth would come with a certain level of dignity. You would be wrong. Elephants in parts of Africa and Asia have developed a very specific hobby, finding marula fruits that have fallen and fermented on the ground and eating them in truly irresponsible quantities. One elephant can consume enough fermented fruit in a single sitting to reach a blood alcohol level that would get a human arrested in every country on Earth simultaneously. What happens next is exactly what you'd expect. A 6-ton animal that is already difficult to reason with on a sober day becomes completely unpredictable. Elephants have been documented stumbling into villages, knocking over structures, getting into loud confrontations with other elephants over nothing, and in some cases just standing very still in the middle of a field, swaying gently. You're staring into the distance with the energy of someone who just made a very bad decision at a wedding reception. Local communities in South Africa have had to develop actual protocols for dealing with drunk elephants wandering through populated areas. And before you feel too bad for the villagers, the elephants look like they're having the time of their lives. Number 4. Moose. Sweden has a moose problem. Not the regular kind, where they occasionally wander onto a highway and ruin someone's afternoon. The specific kind where a fully grown moose gets blackout drunk on fermented apples and ends up stuck in a tree. This is not a metaphor. This is a thing that happens regularly enough in Sweden that it has its own cultural phenomenon. Moose are attracted to apples, and in autumn, fallen apples ferment quickly. A moose will eat until it's completely intoxicated, at which point its already questionable decision-making abilities drop to essentially zero. Swedish emergency services have responded to calls involving drunk moose trapped in garden hedges, moose that wandered into residential neighborhoods and refused to leave, moose that got a leg stuck in a tree while trying to reach higher apples and had to be physically rescued while clearly still drunk. One particular case involved a moose that spent an entire night leaning against a family's house, unable or simply unwilling to move. When it finally sobered up the next morning, it walked away without acknowledging anyone. No eye contact, no apology. Classic. Number 3. Jaguars. Even an apex predator needs a night off occasionally. Jaguars in the Amazon rainforest seek out the yaji vine, which happens to be one of the primary ingredients in ayahuasca, arguably the most powerful hallucinogenic substance known to exist. This is a plant so intense that people fly to South America specifically to sit in a ceremony with a trained shaman just to consume it under carefully controlled conditions. The jaguar finds it growing in the jungle and just eats it casually, like a snack. Once the effects hit, this finely tuned killing machine, an animal built entirely for speed, precision, and violence, turns into something resembling a very large, confused house cat, rolling around, pawing at the air, completely fascinated by things that aren't there. BBC cameras caught this on film, and it is genuinely one of the most surreal things ever recorded. The indigenous people of the Amazon will tell you jaguars do this to heighten their senses before a hunt. And sure, maybe. Or maybe the most powerful predator in the Western Hemisphere just discovered that the jungle has a pharmacy in it and decided to see what all the fuss was about. Number 2. Bees. This one starts sad and gets significantly worse. When temperatures rise, nectar inside flowers can ferment. A bee drinks fermented nectar, gets drunk, loses all motor control and sense of direction, and ends up crawling on the ground going absolutely nowhere. You've seen this. You thought the bee was dying. You were half right. Here's the part nobody tells you. If a drunk bee somehow manages to find its way back to the hive, it has to face the guard bees, essentially the security team of the colony, except with no empathy, no mercy, and no interest in hearing your side of the story. 2 things can happen. The drunk bee gets permanently banned from the hive. Or, and this is where it escalates, the guard bees will tear it apart. Wings removed, legs removed, antennae removed, everything removed, all while the intoxicated bee presumably has no idea what's happening. This isn't cruelty for its own sake. Fermented nectar inside a hive can cause the entire colony to collapse, so the guards treat it as a genuine biological threat, which is completely rational and also absolutely horrifying. The bee went out for a drink and came back to a situation that can only be described as a very bad exit interview. Number 1. Parrots. Nothing else on this list comes close. In northern India, farmers with government permits grow opium poppies legally. This is heavily regulated, not carefully monitored, and completely ruined by parrots. These birds discovered the fields, tasted the opium milk inside the pods, and immediately decided that nothing else in life mattered anymore. A single parrot will fly down to a field, bite into a pod, and come back 30 to 40 times in a single day. They've learned to do it in near silence. No squawking, no drawing attention, just quiet, focused, methodical addiction. Farmers have tried nets, noise machines, scarecrows, and physical presence. The parrots adapted to all of it. Some have been seen grabbing entire pods and flying off with them to finish in private, which somehow makes it worse. Here's where it stops being funny. Opium is a hard drug. Once a parrot is addicted, it is almost certainly going to die from it. When farmers harvest the fields, the birds are left with nothing. The withdrawals are severe enough that they fall from trees and power lines. They die in significant numbers every single year. And then the following year, when the new crop goes in, the next generation of parrots finds it, tries it, and the whole nightmare begins again. No punchline, no redemption arc, just a field full of addicted birds and farmers who can't do anything about it.